Next on the call, or scheduled up on the call, is from Prairie View University, head coach Heishma Northern. Coach Northern, are you with us?
Yes, sir, I am.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good right now.
Another wild game for your team over the weekend over in Huntsville, as Prairie View came up short to Alabama A&M 42-30. Your reflections on that game and your upcoming game as you head to North Dakota on North Dakota State on Saturday.
Yes, well, we didn't get started off on a good note. Our first play of the game was an intercepted pass on offense. Our second play of the game on offense, we broke a nice run and fumbled the football, and they immediately responded with a touchdown pass. So we just didn't get started off on a good note. We had 4 turnovers by the half and still went in tied up 21-21. Second half, we came out, still was going back and forth. We were getting some field goals made, but we unfortunately we were trading field goals for touchdowns, and then we had another turnover, which I thought was outstanding play by the defenders at A&M. Take nothing from those guys, but they tipped the ball and looked like about 3 guys hustling and dove and caught it right before it hit the ground. But and they came back and scored another touchdown. I want to say maybe 2 plays later after that turnover, and we still had time to respond. I think we managed the clock well, but they made a couple of other great plays on defense. I think we had 2 shots in the end zone where one of their DBs may have tipped the ball away from our receiver at the last minute. So it was a good back and forth football game, but at the end of the day, we got to find a way to win those close football games. This week coming up, we go play North Dakota State, number 1 team in FCS football, and we look forward to the challenge. We're not going up there just to, as some people say, collect a check or just to play a game. We're going up there to try to win the football game, and that's what we're supposed to do. I think our guys responded well. We had some live practices last week. We'll do the same thing this week if the weather allows. Unfortunately for us, it's storming right now, but we're gonna get out there and have a great week of practice. We're gonna take this flight and we're gonna win the football game.
All right, Coach Northern, we have questions for Coach Heish Northern from Prairie View A&M. Again, the floor is open for questions for Coach Northern. Okay, Coach, I have a question for you. Just looking at the stats from the game, almost even with total offense, A&M having 421, your guys having 419, a little bit of a contrast as far as how you got there. Talk about the offensive output early in the season. You've been putting up some big numbers on the offensive side.
Well, I think if you look back at the game from our standpoint, if you would have told us that, hey, you guys will rush for almost 300 yards and you'll hold Lacey to less than 75 yards, I think he finished with maybe 67, and you would still lose the ball game, I think, I would have told you that you were crazy, but it was just one of those days. Unfortunately for us, we shut down the running game, but we gave up some big plays in the passing game, and that's one of the things that we harped on with our guys. But, the numbers are, I guess good to look at, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what's on the scoreboard and the wins and losses. So, we're going to regroup. We're going to get back to playing Prairie View football. I think our tempo may have given them some problems, and we still wanted to play faster than we played. We may have had some issues with the ball being spotted fast enough, and with some of us, not substituting, all those types of things. But we gonna do what we do, and let's try to play fast and still play a physical brand of football.
Turnovers had to be big for your team too.
Yeah, like I say, the penalties hurt you, but turnovers kill you dead. So we got to avoid those turnovers, and it'll give us a great chance to win some more football games. I think we're maybe -5 in terms of the turnover, but we have to do a better job as a defensive side of the ball of creating turnovers and getting some sacks and some pressure on the quarterback. We played 3 games and don't have 1 sack, and that's being a guy that's known as a defensive guy, it's very disappointing. You have a guy that a lot of NFL scouts are coming in, and he doesn't have a sack so far in the season. So we've got to find a way to get some quarterbacks on the ground, and we may be getting some hits, but we're not getting those sacks, and we're not causing the fumbles and those types of things, creating a short field for our offense, even with our special teams. I think we're doing a pretty good job of moving the ball, but we still have to create scores and score defensively. I think that's when we'll know that we'll have a good defense, when we start creating turnovers and scoring the football as a defensive unit.
Your opponent this weekend is coming off a bye week, and as you mentioned, number one in FCS. Talk about them a little bit and what you expect to see out of them on Saturday.
A whole lot of power football, and the quarterback is not bad either. I mean, I think he's completing right at 65 to 70% of his passes, but they run the football, and they run the football well. They run the power. They're probably one of the few teams that I've seen run the power. Most people only pull 2 people. I've seen them pull as many as 4 people on their power. You know, they'll put both guards, a wing back and a fullback, and try to outnumber you at the point of attack. So what we have to do is do a good job of spilling it. The guy that's supposed to box it or contain it has to do a good job, and those guys that's supposed to field are going to have to do a good job. And it's not going to be one time, because, I mean, I've seen them line up and run the power on 3rd and 8. That's how much confidence they have in that play. But we just got to do a good job of being fundamentally sound, showing them some different looks to defend it, and play aggressively on the defense side of the ball.
Floor is still open for questions. Before we continue, though, make sure that your phone is muted using the *6 function. Sound like I heard a whistle in the background. But make sure that if you're not asking a question or answering a question, that your phone is on mute. We have any other questions for Coach Northern? I don't know why I want to call you Norman this morning.
Yeah, Coach Northern, Ken Rashad, this TSPN Sports. How are you, sir?
I'm fine.
Good. You had a game last week against Lamar, and then, of course, you've got a game, your next game against North Dakota State, looking at which completes your out-of-conference schedule against 2 FCS opponents. Is this the scheduling philosophy that you have made the decision to kind of move forward with for this year, as well as upcoming years, whereas a number of other SWAC schools are playing up against FBS opponents in the so-called money game? Is this kind of your scheduling philosophy for your Prairie View program?
I would have to say so. You know, and I was here when we played New Mexico State and we played Southern Miss, so I have no problem playing against those schools as well. But at the end of the day, for me being at Prairie View, I think we come out better playing against the Southland Conference schools, maybe some of the Sun Belt schools, and actually the game against North Dakota State, it came down to us playing either them or Sam Houston, and, you know, the 2 teams that played for the national championship. But financially for us, it was more beneficial, believe it or not, to go to North Dakota and play. So I think that's why we took that game, and we were able to do some things. I'm in the process of getting more computers for my coaches, so we can, you know, better manage our time as far as breaking down film. But I think that's the way we're going to look the next few years, or as long as I'm here. I think next year we're already set to play Texas State and Stephen F. Austin. I wouldn't mind going back to Lamar or McNeese, or, you know, someone along those lines, year in and year out, because you know, those are the people that we realistically compete against. But, you know, do we play against a Texas A&M or a Texas in the near future? I'm not sure, but there are going to have to be some things done here from an infrastructure standpoint before I want to go out and play those teams. Some of the other schools in the conference, you know, have better facilities than what I have, more people working in a weight room, maybe a different training staff, where they can do some of those things. I don't think we at Prairie View right now are ready to go play a Big 12 or SEC school. That's my opinion. And, you know, like I said, I'm going to tell it like it is. So I have no problem playing Southland Conference schools, Sun Belt schools, Conference USA schools. I think that's who we match up better against and have a possibility of actually winning a football game, because you look at some of those other Big 12 schools, say I could have a perfect play call, and basically no matter what I have called, that play really may not work against some of the better athletes that we'll be going up against. So, you know, we'll stick with Sun Belt FCS schools for right now.
You say the game against North Dakota State, when you looked at the options, was, I guess, more of a financial benefit for you. What do you get for playing North Dakota State in this game?
In terms of how much are we getting
financial,
paid?
Yeah, payout, yes.
I'm not going to say the exact number, but it's more than we would have playing against Sam Houston.
Thanks,
and like
Coach.
I say, Sam Houston is an hour's drive from here.
Hey, Coach, Ty Miller from Sheridan Broadcasting. Good morning to you.
Yes, sir.
Sort of follow-up question on the same note that you're talking about. I was listening to a national ESPN reporter this morning give a 90-second commentary on about the money games that teams play, teams like Prairie View, Savannah State, and a lot of colleges play those money games. He was saying, in essence, that those games should not be played because they cheapen the fans, and that if a school like Prairie View or Savannah State wants, if they can't afford, if they have to play those games to help their athletic budgets, they should get out of football. What is your response to that?
You sort of have to laugh at those guys. In my opinion, being a guy that's been in football as long as I have, I think schedule who you want to more or less, but I think the coach should have more say so in who you play than just the AD who's thinking about a bottom line. I think if a coach agrees with playing up, then that's fine. But a lot of schools have worked their way up by playing the so-called money games. Boise State wasn't always a Boise State. A University of Houston wasn't always the University of Houston. Fresno State, when they were rolling pretty good, wasn't always the Fresno State, if you understand what I'm saying. So you had to go out and play different people at different venues, to make budgets meet. So, if Heist Northern as a head coach agrees with it, I see no problem with it. So, if Heist Northern doesn't agree with that, then that's where I think you have to make sure you're on the same page with the AD. If my AD calls me about a game and I don't feel like, I don't want to play against Arkansas next year, then I think that's the way we should go now. If I'm turning down Southland Conference schools, I think my AD needs to look at me and see what's wrong with me. But I see no problem playing whoever the head coach at the time feels comfortable playing.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach Northern, we'd like to thank you for taking time with us this morning and talking about your team. Once again, Prairie View is on the road this weekend taking on North Dakota State, the top-ranked team in FCS. Kickoff is scheduled for 3 p.m. Coach, we wish you luck in that ball game, and we'll talk to you again next Monday.
Yes, sir.